Hey guys, welcome back again to another exciting video. Previously, we have discussed about Ektara. We hope you have learned a lot from it. If you have not seen the previous video, then you can catch up with it by clicking the link in description. Here, in today's video, we will give you the complete introduction on violin. Therefore, before we begin, if you are new to this channel and like the content what we post, then should go and hit the subscribe button along with the bell icon so that you'll never miss any important or new videos when we upload them here. Let's get started. The violin, sometimes known as a fiddle, is a wooden string instrument in the violin family. Most violins have a hollow wooden body. It is the smallest and highest pitched instrument, soprano, in the family in regular use. The violin typically has 4 strings, usually tuned in perfect fifths with notes G3, D4, A4, E5, and is most commonly played by drawing the bow across its strings. It can be also played by plucking the string with the fingers, and in specialized case by striking the strings with the wooden side of the bow, which are called pizzicato or collegno. Violins are important instruments in a wide variety of musical genres. They are most prominent in the Western classical tradition, both in ensembles and as solo instrument. Violins are also important in many varieties of folk music, including country music, bluegrass music, and in jazz. Electric violins with solid bodies and piezoelectric pickups are used in some forms of rock music and jazz fusion, with the pickups plugged into instrument amplifiers and speakers to produce sound. The violin has come to be incorporated in many Western music cultures, including Indian music and Iranian music. The name fiddle is often used regardless of the type of music played on it. The violin was first known in the 16th century Italy, with some further modifications occurring in the 18th and 19th century to give the instrument a powerful sound and projection. In Europe, it served as the basis for the development of other string instruments used in Western classical music, such as the viola. Violinists and collectors particularly prize the fine historical instrument made by the Stradivari, Guarneri, Guadagnini, and Amati families from the 16th to the 18th century in Brescia and Cremona, Italy, and by Jacob Steiner in Austria. According to their reputation, the quality of their sound has defied attempts to explain or equal it, though this belief is disputed. Great number of instruments have come from the hands of less famous makers, as well as still greater numbers of mass-produced commercial trade violins coming from cottage industries in places such as Saxony, Bohemia, and Miacote. Many of these trade instruments were formerly sold by Sears, Roebuck and Co. and other mass merchandisers. The components of a violin are usually made from different types of wood. Violins can be strung with gut, purlin, or other synthetic or steel strings. A person who makes or repairs a violin is called a luthier or violin maker. One who makes or repairs bows is called an archetier or bow maker. The word violin was first used in English in the 1570s. The word violin comes from the Italian violino, diminutive of viola. The term viola comes from the expression for tenor violin. In 1797, from Italian viola, from Old Provençal viola, which came from medieval Latin vicula, as a term which means stringed instrument, perhaps coming from Vitula, Roman goddess of joy, or from related Latin verb vitulare, to exult, be joyful. The related term viola da gamba means bass viol. In 1724 is from Italian, literally a viola for the leg, that is to hold between the legs. A violin is the modern form of the smaller medieval viola, the braccio, arm viola. The violin is often called a fiddle either when used in folk music context or even in classical music sense as an informal name for the instrument. The word fiddle comes from fedele, fiddle, earlier fiddle, from Old English fiddle, which is related to Old Norse fidela, Middle Dutch Dutch Fiddle, Old High German fidula, German fiedel, a fiddle, all of uncertain origins. As to the origin of the word fiddle, the usual suggestion based on resemblance in sound and sense is that it is from the medieval Latin vitula. Well, that was the introduction of the violin. Now, let's see the history. The earliest stringed instruments were mostly plucked. For example, the Greek lyre. Two-stringed, bowed instrument played upright and strung and bowed with horsehair may have originated in the nomadic equestrian cultures of Central Asia in forms closely resembling the modern-day Mongolian Morin Hur and Kazakh kobis. Similar and variant types are probably disseminated along east-west trading routes from Asia into the Middle East and the Byzantine Empire. The direct ancestor of all European bowed instrument is the Arabic rebab, which developed into the Byzantine lira by the 9th century and later in the European rebec. The first makers of violins probably borrowed the various developments of the Byzantine lira. These include the viol, also known as the fiddle or viola, and lira da braccio. The violin in its present form emerged in early 16th century northern Italy. The earliest pictures of violins, albeit with three strings, are seen in northern Italy around 1530 at around the same time as the words violino or violon are seen in Italian and French documents. One of the earliest explicit descriptions of the instrument, including its tuning, is from the Epitome musical by Jambe de Foix, published in Lyon in 1556. By this time, the violin had already begun to spread throughout Europe. The violin proved very popular both among street musicians and the nobility. The French King Charles IX ordered Andrea Amati to construct 24 violins for him in 1560. One of these noble instruments, the Charles IX, is the oldest surviving violin. The finest Renaissance carved and decorated violin in the world is the Gasparo da Salo, owned by Ferdinand II, Archduke of Austria, and later from 1841 by the Norwegian virtuoso Ole Bull, who used it for 40 years and thousands of concerts for its very powerful and beautiful tone, similar to that of a guarneri. The Messiha or Messi, also known as Salabio, made by Antonio Stradivari in 1716, remains pristine. It is now located in the Ashmolean Museum of Oxford. The most famous violin makers or luthiers between the 16th and 18th century are 1658 Baroque violin by Jacob Steiner, the School of Brescia, beginning in the late 14th century with liras, violettas, violas, and active in the field of the violin in the first half of the 16th century. The Dalla Corna family, active in 1510 to 1560 in Brescia and Venice. The Michel family, active in 1530 and 1615 in Brescia. The Inverardi family, active during 1550 and 1580. The Gasparo da Salo family, active between 1530 to 1615 in Brescia and Salo. Giovanni Paolo Maggini, student of Gasparo da Salo, active in 1600 to 1630 in Brescia. The Ruggieri family, active between 1661 to 1721 in Brescia. The School of Cremona, beginning in the second half of the 16th century with violas and violin, and in the field of violin in the second half of the 16th century. The Amati family, active between 1550 and 1740 in Cremona. The Guarneri family, active between 1626 and 1744 in Cremona and Venice. The Stradivari family, active between 1644 and 1737 in Cremona. The Ruggieri family, active between 1650 and 1740 in Cremona. Carlo Bagonzi, a luthier, active between 1683 and 1747 in Cremona. Now, the School of Venice, with the presence of several makers of board instruments from the early 16th century out of more than 140 makers of string instruments registered between 1490 and 1630. The Linarolo family was active between 1505 and 1640 in Venice. Matteo Coffriller, known for his celli, active between 1685 and 1742 in Venice. Pietro Guarneri, son of Giuseppe Giovanni Battista Guarneri and from Cremona, was active between 1717 to 1762 in Venice. Domenico Montagna, active between 1700 to 1750 in Venice. Santo Serafin, active before 1741 until 1776 in Venice. Well, these were the most famous violin makers between the 16th and the 18th century. Significant changes occurred in the construction of the violin in the 18th century, particularly in length and angle of the neck, as well as a heavier bass bar. The majority of old instruments have undergone these modifications and hence are in a significantly different state than when they left the hands of their makers, doubtless with difference in sound and response. But these instruments in their present condition set the standard for perfection in violin craftsmanship and sound, and violin makers all over the world try to come and close to this ideal as possible. To this day, instruments from the so-called golden age of violin making, especially those made by Stradivari, Guarneri del Gesso and Montagna, are most sought after instruments by both collectors and performers. The current record amount paid by for a Stradivari violin is 9.8 million euros, 15.9 million in US dollars, when the instrument known as the Lady Blunt was sold by Tarisio Auctions in an online auction on June 20, 2011. Well, that was the introduction and history of violin. We hope you have understood today's concept. If you have any queries, then feel free to contact us. You will find the contact details down in the description. If you have liked today's video, then don't forget to drop a like to it and share it with your family and friends so that even they get the knowledge of violin if it is their favorite instrument. Tune in with us in the next part of the violin introduction in the next video. To be notified when we upload the next video, should go and hit the subscribe button and push the bell icon so that you'll not miss the second part of the violin introduction if violin is your favorite instrument. You can follow us over Facebook and Instagram for more updates. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video very soon. Till then, you can watch the rest of the videos which are going to appear right now here on the screen.